Hello and welcome to installing Rapidminer server. We'll be installing Rapidminer server on a Windows server today. In your browser window, open rapidminer.com. Once the page is loaded, go ahead and click on the download button in the top right corner. You'll be able to provide your username password if you already have it. Rapidminer server does require you to have a username password associated with the account. If you don't have one, follow the sign up link. In my case, I already have a username password, so I'll just use that and log in. Once the login is complete, you should be able to see the Rapidminer Studio installers for Windows, for Mac, as well as Linux. The Rapidminer server software is available in one package for all different operating systems. We'll go ahead and download the full server package at this point. You'll have to read through the end user license agreement and accept if you need to install. While the download is completing, let's proceed and look at the installation instructions again. As noted, the prerequisites that are needed for Rapidminer server are having a Java 8, JDK or JRE, both are fine. We also need to have a Rapidminer server database which is used for metadata purposes. On our existing database, we'll also need to define a Rapidminer server database user, and we'll also need Rapidminer Studio at the end to verify the installation is complete. More likely than not, you have probably installed Java already on your system, but if not, you can follow the install Java 8 link that is provided in the prerequisites to download Java 8 and install it on your computer. This will take you to the official Oracle site from where we can download it. So right click, open a new tab. At this point, you can select the right version. In my case, it is Windows 64, and then we can proceed to download it. A very common problem is you have not accepted the license agreement, so we'll go ahead and click that, and then once again reattempt the download. So let the download finish. Next, we'll download the MySQL installer for Windows. Select the right version and then download the necessary installer file. You can register if you want, or there's a link available to download without registering. While that download is happening, let's go back to your Rapidminer account and download Rapidminer Studio also, which will need to verify the installation later. That is available again from rapidminer.com homepage or my.rapidminer.com. That is your account page. On the my.rapidminer.com page, go to the Downloads tab and then select the 64-bit version or 32-bit version depending on your case. And while the download is happening, you can watch a brief video about Rapidminer Studio or ignore it if you know already what Rapidminer does. Once the downloads are complete, we'll start with the prerequisite installation first. In this case, we'll start with JRE by right clicking and then run as administrator. We'll proceed with the Java install. We'll leave the default destination folder, hit next. The installation should take generally a minute or two. We'll wait for the installation to complete before we proceed. Once Java is completely installed, we'll close the dialog and then move on to our next prerequisite, a database. In this case, we are going to install MySQL as we mentioned before. So same concept, right click, install, click run. You'll have to read to the license agreement and accept it to proceed further. The installer provides several setup types, just like developer default, server only, client only, which provides various client tools. MySQL Workbench is a Great tool to work with MySQL. If you're not comfortable with command line, we'll go ahead and use the full, which will get us both the server as well as the client. Next, the installer checks for prerequisites for MySQL Workbench, and we'll go ahead and install as prompted. In this case, it needs Visual C++. Should be very quick here. Hit close. You can add additional prerequisites if needed. For example, in this case, I can go ahead and do the Visual Studio for Office if needed. Again, we don't need it, but just showing you here. We'll let the installation of prerequisites complete and then hit finish. At this point, we can move further. These are the softwares that are ready to install, so we'll hit execute again. The MySQL Workbench installer completes the installation step by step. Once the installation is complete, we'll hit next and then proceed to product configuration again. Hit next again. At this point, we can leave everything to default. The config type is left to development machine. We are going to use TCP/IP and leave the port to default 3306 and hit next. At this point, you need to provide a password for the root username. Choose a password wisely, something that you can remember later on. You can also add additional users. Again, we don't need to in this case, but if needed, we can go ahead and add it from here. So we'll hit next again. It will be installed as a Windows service, so proceed to select the right options and remember the service name and ensure that you select to run MySQL as a service and click next on the screen to apply the server configurations. Click finish when completed. You'll be prompted most likely for the product configuration. Hit next. You can quickly check the connections here to ensure that the service was installed and is able to connect to. And this is where we can execute the actual server configuration steps and let it finish successfully, and then click on finish to complete product configuration. You can view the logs and then close if done. It automatically launches MySQL Workbench for you. If not, you can always launch from the start menu by simply searching for MySQL, and the Workbench should be an option there. So let's go back and see where are we in the installations. We have already completed the preparatory steps. We have installed Java. We have also installed MySQL, but we now need to create the MySQL database that we are going to use for Rapidminer server. You can follow the link here to see the instructions. It provides sample query that you can use to create the MySQL database schema, which is what we're using today. As you go to the bottom, you'll see the two queries. The first one is create database Rapidminer underscore server. We'll just copy it from here and paste it in MySQL Workbench. You'll log in as the root user since we need permissions first to create the schema. We will then paste the query and then execute it. That will create the Rapidminer database, Rapidminer underscore server. And it shows at the bottom that it has been completed successfully. The next command we need to run is grant all privileges for the Rapidminer user that we're going to create. The user would be rm underscore user, so we'll paste that query. The user that is created is rm user, and that's the password. Please provide a password that you'll remember later on. In my case, I'm leaving it to Rapidminer. We'll highlight the query and run it. You can ignore the deprecation warning you see at the bottom. Does not affect us at this point. You can refresh the schema list and you'll notice the Rapidminer underscore server schema is available. And if you expand on it, you'll notice there are no tables or views or anything defined. It's just an empty schema at this point. So the next part is installing the Rapidminer server itself. We'll go ahead to the downloaded and first unzip it in the same location. Once the folder is unzipped, we will navigate inside to the installer script that is available. It is under the installation folder /bin. You can then start the installer by right click and then run as administrator. The installer is a GUI based interface, so wait for that to pop up and hit next. We are going to install Rapidminer server on the same machine, so select that option and hit next. You'll have to read through the license agreement and accept if okay. At this point, Rapidminer server needs to know the location. I typically keep it at C drive and then Rapidminer server is the top level folder I name it as. So hit OK once you have named and selected the location. At this point, Rapidminer server also requires a key. This key is available on your Rapidminer account page, which is my.rapidminer.com. If you go to the server tab, or once you log in, go to the licenses tab. Inside that, the server tab, you should at least have the free license key that is available. Just copy it and then you should be able to paste it within the window. If you have other license keys that you want to use, feel free to use them at this point. But if you are a new user who has just registered, you can use the free key. Rapidminer automatically detects the other settings here. That's the host name, the port name, and memory settings are provided for you. You can change them if needed. The one thing you need to provide is the location for the Java home since it was not automatically detected. So we'll point that to the Java JRE folder we selected and hit next. Now Rapidminer needs to know the database that will act as its metadata repository. So we provide the database host. In this case, I'm on the same machine, so that's localhost. The port is also default, so leave it as it is. The database scheme that we named was Rapidminer underscore server. If you name it something different, feel free to use that. And then provide the username password. This username is the one we created, so just copy it. Mine one happens to be rmuser, and we'll paste it, and the password for that is provided. Now Rapidminer also requires JDBC driver to be able to connect to MySQL. Unfortunately, that driver is not shipped, the other ones are. So if you are using MySQL, you need to download the driver. The link for that is provided, so just go ahead, click it, and then follow the links to the actual installer steps and the documentation for that. So we'll download the platform independent zip archive in this case. Again, follow the download link. Once it's downloaded, we'll unzip it. And however, this is unzipped in the users folder, so I would want to use this in a better location, something that is accessible to all. So I'm going to copy it now from the users folder and paste it under the C drive Rapidminer server folder so that there are no permissioning issues. At this point, I can now go back to my installer and then point the location of the jar file to where I just copied. That will be Rapidminer server and the appropriate folder, and then the jar file inside of that. It automatically detects the JDBC driver class, and we can quickly test if the connection is successful. Hit OK and then next. You can ignore the SMTP host settings for now. These are used for email purposes. We do not need them for now, but again, there is documentation available. Hit install. and then Rapidminer server goes ahead and starts installing the software. Once installed, you have the option to start Rapidminer server, and if it's installed as a service, you could also run it from there. So we'll proceed to do that today. So we'll just complete the setup for now by hitting on OK, and then I'm going to go to the services panel by simply searching the word services. I'll run as an administrator, and I should be able to then find the Rapidminer service with the name Rapidminer in there. I can then right click and change a few properties. You'll notice the startup type is manual, so we'll change that to automatic. That's done by properties and changing the startup type. And then I'll also proceed to go ahead and start the service at this point. Now typically the service does take a minute or two to start up, so you can quickly check that by going to localhost 8080, and you'll notice initially you won't be able to access it, but if you give it a minute or two, you should be soon able to see the Rapidminer login page at that point. Once the server is available, you should see the Rapidminer server login page. The username password that you want to use is the default one. It's available on the documentation page. It's admin as the username and change it is the password. I'm pointing them here so that you can note it down, but that's the default username and password that is pre-configured, so we'll go ahead and use that to log in. So you're definitely advised to change the password after the initial login. At this point, Rapidminer discovers this is a new installation, and it will ask you to make a few selections. So in this case, we want to tell it what is the SQL dialect, and we are using MySQL, so let's highlight that. You can also provide a plugin directory and upload directory paths if needed. We can leave it to default by leaving it to empty for now, and then hit install. And Rapidminer creates the necessary steps, completes them, and we have a working Rapidminer server. At this point, you can go to administration, user management, and there will be at least one user there, the admin user. Go ahead and change the password by simply clicking on the username and then providing a new password, and then confirming the password in the repeat password window. Now you have successfully changed the username admin's password to whatever you just said. You can log off and then configure or check again if the password looks correct and the server is able to log you in successfully. So that looks right. Now the last part of this is ensuring that the Rapidminer Studio client is able to connect to this server. To do that, we are going to install Rapidminer Studio and then connect. So I'll do that by right clicking and again run as administrator. We'll follow the wizard here, pretty straightforward. Leave the paths to default and let the installation complete, and then launch Rapidminer Studio from there. Once Rapidminer Studio comes up, we'll then proceed to add a Rapidminer server repository connection and verify that our username password allows you to get into the Rapidminer server from the Studio client itself. After the first installation, you'll be requested to accept the license agreement. You can hit and accept. Here you can create a new Rapidminer account by providing your username, password, and confirming the password. However, if you have already created a user account, which we did for the server setup, we'll use that same one. So we'll go ahead and click on I already have a link and then provide that username password in this window. At this point, we can hit on login and install, and Rapidminer will go ahead and confirm your licenses automatically. If you're not able to confirm, there is an option as you see there, enter licenses manually, that can be utilized. But for now, this seems to work, so we'll hit OK. Rapidminer then opens up some tutorials. You can close them and go back to the default view. Our goal is to verify that the server is available to the studio client. So we'll select new repository, server repository, provide the URL, happens to be localhost 8080. Then we'll provide the username password. You can click on the check connection state settings to verify, or else if you hit finish, it will check, and if it works out, you will have the option to see the repository. A local repository looks something like this as folders, and the Rapidminer server repository will also look similar, except the icons are different. Hopefully I've been able to follow along and install the Rapidminer server in your environment. In case you have questions, feel free to reach out to us on community.rapidminer.com. Under the products help menu, there is a server forum where you can ask your questions. We are more than happy to help you over on various topics, including installation issues. So looking forward to helping you out and seeing what you can do with the Rapidminer server. Thank you.